Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome once again to another great IncrediChat that we have lined up here. We're really celebrating these last couple of weeks. The great event that's coming up in Saratoga this weekend, the Saratoga Comic-Con. We've been very fortunate. As you know, we've had a lot of great guests here on IncrediChat. And I mean, by far, we've got some great guests coming up at Saratoga Comic-Con. And tonight, we've got one of those great guests. And I was just telling him, he really is like the voice of a generation. So without further ado, let's welcome in voice actor Quinton Flynn and also comedian. You do some Paul McCartney I saw from Kimmel. We love Jimmy Kimmel.
That's very true. I did Paul McCartney for Jimmy. Yeah, great stuff.
Woo! There you go.
And thank you. I'm grateful to be here. And
I see Kermit the Frog in the back
there. Everybody's there. Herman Munster, we got it all.
Yeah.
So it is great to have you here with us tonight. Thanks so much for joining us. We already have people commenting on here, which is great. So if you folks watching, if you have some questions, please throw your questions in there. But I think just like with all of our guests, I mean, and I said it before, you've been in so many great programs, movies, video games. You've touched upon all the genres. You do all these great voices. Let me ask you, comedy, voice acting, where'd you get the acting bug? What got you started in this business?
Well, it's tough. I mean, I started as a kid. I just loved, radio, TV, motion pictures, music, all of it. I just absorbed it like a sponge. And from the time I was a wee tot, my mom has a picture of me, I think I was age 2, standing on a magazine or a book, actually, that I took off the coffee table with a plastic guitar in my hand, staring at the TV. And I was watching a rerun of the Beatles on the Ed Sullivan Show. So there it goes. I was 2 years old. And, she sang a lot. My dad sang a lot of music in the family. Music on the Irish side, right, with my father and all the people there who came over from Ireland, and all the Americans, the Yanks, So I was just into it all, man. And I just, as I was an artist, I was a fine artist at first, and then I started watching impressionists doing impressions. So I started doing impressions of impressions at the age of 8. That young.
So you're watching Rich
Little? I was watching Rich Little. Yeah, Rich Little. Frank Gorshin, Fred Travalena, and John Biner.
Oh my! All that's Gee, I completely forgot about Frank Gorshin, but yeah, the legends too. I mean,
and then Saturday Night Live started when I was a kid. So Chevy Chase, Dan Aykroyd, Bill Murray, any impressions they did, I did as well.
So it's like you said, you're doing impressions of impressions. So and I mean, certainly, like Chevy Chase as Gerald Ford was not necessarily the best Gerald Ford, but
no.
You do them all anyways.
Absolutely. But Dan Aykroyd was doing Jimmy Carter,
Yeah.
and doing Dan Aykroyd, that kind of Aykroyd talks like this, very, kind of doing that thing. Blues Brothers, here with John Belushi, my brother, Jake. I am Elwood Blues of the Blues Brothers.
You know what I'm noticing as you're doing these too, just with Dan Aykroyd there, you're doing the voice, but like you're doing he does have those subtle head movements, and you're just doing those. And I'm like, that's Dan.
Yeah. Well, to me, that's the ultimate when you're doing a character. Acting impression is becoming that person, not just doing the voice. But if you're doing Christopher Walken, thing is, something about the mouth and the eyes, you become Walken.
The one you mentioned, I'm a big Rob Paulson fan, and I know he does his podcast too, and I guess he's had them do a Walken a bunch of times under it. It's a whoa,
yeah, wow.
So
and there's Christopher Lloyd, who's Marty. We've got to go back to the future. Oh.
Which is like all of his characters, like Reverend Jim, and everybody's got that.
Yes, sure, because Reverend Jim on Taxi was,
what are you gonna do? I don't know.
He's a little more subtle, whereas Doc Brown was over the top.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, and I had the good fortune of working with Chris on Robot Chicken, and then meeting him and hanging out with him in up north. I forget which Comic-Con it was. We were together on the Pacific Northwest and Emerald City Comic-Con.
Okay, that's a great show. That is a great show.
Spent time with him and with Patrick Stewart. Had lunch
wow.
with Patrick Stewart, and he was wonderful. So, you know, but it was funny because I had done an impression of both Christopher Walken and Christopher Lloyd earlier at a panel. And his assistant came up to me in front of him and said, "Hey, man, what was your favorite impression?" And Lloyd went over the biggest with the audience, but I looked at him and I looked at his assistant and I thought, Christopher Walken, because I didn't want to say Lloyd for fear of insulting him. And without missing a beat, he said,
I worked with Chris in New York in 1976. We did Shakespeare together. And the thing about Walken is he liked to take his time.
The irony was not lost on me.
You know, and I think this is one of the key things about voice actors, and I want to get to some of these questions because people are like really chiming in here, which is good. So it's doing Christopher Walken, doing Christopher Lloyd, doing Patrick Stewart, doing Fred Flintstone, doing Bugs Bunny. There's all these nuances, and I guess as you were saying, you learned you watched a lot of TV, you soaked all this stuff in, you watched these impressionists, you know. So I guess one of the things as a voice actor is bringing a little bit of those components from these little nuances, as you were saying, of all these little actors, right? So you could take Christopher Walken and Christopher Lloyd, meld them together, and there's a whole new character right there.
Absolutely. In fact, I'll do it right now for you. If
Okay.
Christopher Walken's here
and Christopher Lloyd is here, and you put them together, you've got something like this. What is it? I'm not sure. But maybe I'm the king and the crown and the mountain song. I'm singing this song for you and you and you and me and two.
Beautiful.
I don't know. That's something. I would do a take two, and I'd give myself notes on that. But you know.
Yeah, but no, but that's good, and a lot of it comes from that world of like improv, that world of comedy, because again, these studios, they already have the voices for these characters. They're always looking for that something new. So, voice acting wise, what was your first job? How did you break into it? Where did you start on?
I started doing commercial work. I did promos for the ABC network, comedy promos, like coming up next on the Drew Carey Show. I remember doing a character named Oscar Kokoschka for Hey Arnold. Okay. I played a prince in the Aladdin animated Disney series. And then it was Johnny Quest. Come on, Dad, we got to go find Bandit. And then I ended up replacing Nathan Lane as the voice of Timon on the spin-off series Around the World. Around the World with Timon and Pumbaa. Hakuna Matata. What a wonderful phrase. So between that, The Human Torch, and Johnny Quest, those were my first forays into landing animated series roles in the 90s.
So you really kind of stepped in for, I guess, really like legacy characters. I mean, at the time, Timon was relatively new, but still, he's found his foot in the Disney world. So you stepped in on that. Obviously, Johnny Quest, we all know from the 60s show. So I guess you were probably the fourth or fifth voice actor for Johnny Quest, right? Because you had
actually the third, because Tim Matheson was the original Johnny Quest in 1964 to 66, and then I came in as Johnny in season 2 after.
Because Scott Menville. J.D. Roth did the first season of Real Adventures, and then Scott Menville? I think he was Johnny in like that 80s Hanna-Barbera. This is definitely a Lance question, but
I didn't know there was an 80s one.
There was, and then they did like 2 TV movies that preceded the Real Adventures. So I think that was Scott Menville, if I'm not mistaken. So I think
wow, you got me. I had no idea.
Look, and here we go. See, the people know. Sergine said Scott Menville did the 80s Johnny Quest. There you go. So
Wow,
thanks.
I know Scott, but I didn't even know there was an 80s Johnny Quest. I didn't have a clue.
Yeah. It was like a Saturday. It was a Sunday morning. Fantastic world of Hanna-Barbera.
Okay, because he was in LA at the time, and I was still back in Cleveland, Ohio, doing all kinds of. I was probably rocking out with my band at the time. I don't know.
Well, and funny mention that. So you're doing this voice acting stuff, and somebody where I want to go to this, right? So the Chrome Topper just asked. I listened to some of your music too. Can you elaborate on how you got into that as well? Everybody wants to know everything tonight.
Sure, Chrome Topper. Thank you very much. Again, as a kid, I was a Beatle head. I also liked musicals. I liked everything about rock and roll that there was, and everything about popular music. You know, the Raspberries came out of the 70s Cleveland rock scene with Go All the Way. I could go on and on about my musical influences. The Electric Light Orchestra, the Beatles, Queen, things like that. And I just, started writing. It just kind of came naturally. I did like a lot of other artists. I did cover songs in cover bands, and then just started writing. And, if you put a backbeat to some poetry or a story, oh, there go my lighting. We'll bring that back up in just a moment here, folks.
No.
You've got yourself a song, and that's just what I did.
But and talking music, talking voice acting, I think this is a good question. I don't think I ever got into this with anybody before. Your tool is your voice.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing, which regardless of whichever side you're going on. As somebody who is pursuing voice acting, what is the best way to preserve? What is the best way to find that voice to go out there into the world?
Which voice? Your own or other character voices?
Well, I guess let's look at the music world, the music aspect of it, but then certainly in that character voice, and I know we touched upon that a little bit of creating your own, but what makes that voice unique?
What makes that voice unique? Well, it's usually finding, it's tonal, it's musical actually. So I find it, I hear a tone and I repeat it. I couldn't do an impression of you right now perfect, but if I hear your tone, like I hear your tone is speak, say something, Mike.
Welcome to IncrediChat.
What's that?
Welcome to IncrediChat.
Welcome to IncrediChat. Welcome to IncrediChat. Now that's what I hear. That's not Mike Lopez, but welcome to IncrediChat. I'm Mike Lopez. My God, we got Quinton Flynn here. You're the voice of a generation. So if I'm thinking you, that's what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. I'm listening to a tone. I'm listening to the energy. I'm trying to put it all together. If I'm doing Gilbert Gottfried, I think about Gilbert Gottfried's here. Then I scrunch up my face. And I do it like this, and you put your hand on your face and go, "What are you doing?" And I think he was Iago, if I'm not mistaken, right? Yeah. The parrot for Disney. Mm-hmm. And oh, good, we're getting our lighting back. I love it. This is very exciting. Oh, I love it. Woo!
Awesome.
Thank you.
I'm tech support.
Thank you, Sam. My wife is tech support right now. So thank you. We're grateful to you, Sam. Yeah. Oh, there we go. Key Phil back. I worked in TV production when I was in college. I studied radio, television, film at Kent State University after I was at Bowling Green State University, and had to learn about lighting. And here, many people have lighting kits, and I'm working with one right now. And a kind of a fragile computer.
Aren't they all fragile? We love the world of technology.
Yes. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, no, that was good. And I mean, it certainly is. It's like you said, it's picking up those tones. And I mean, I think a big part of it is really those mannerisms. He's like really finding those little nuances in people which make them tick.
That's it. And it's looking at them, it's listening, it's embodying. It's, as I said before, I started out drawing, illustrating, copying, and so if we're doing a copycat, we're doing an impression. Like there was the Impressionist period, and that's what we're doing. We try to do our best to sound and act like someone or something. Now, if we want to create a new character, we have what are called sides in acting, and they give us a breakdown on what they're asking for or looking for in a character. So we give it to them. If they say we want, a 20-something character, maybe I'll do them right around here. If they want Johnny Quest, I gotta young him up a little bit. He's got energy. Or is the character named Jimmy? And is he flat? Maybe he's more flat, more nasal. So you gotta throw it in the back of the throat. And maybe he's got a cold. So, I don't want to go to school today. Why? Because I got a cold. Do I really have a cold? Or maybe I talk like this all the time. My name is Reggie, and I'm friends with Johnny, but Johnny doesn't let me come out and play because I don't have the energy. I got a cough, too. So, there it is, man. I don't know.
Yeah, and that's the beautiful thing. I think for a lot of the guys in your profession is just like being able to start one place and go to the other.
Yeah.
Certainly, you've worked with a lot of voice actors. So two-part question. With what you were just doing, do you find during your recording sessions, and I know COVID really changed things up a bit, so recording sessions, I'm sure Johnny Quest, probably Timon and Pumbaa were the same way. It was radio style, where you guys were probably all sitting like in a half circle around the microphones, playing with each other, improving.
We were in a studio together in separate chairs with sheet music stands, usually with individual boom mics or mics.
Yeah.
For each of us. There wasn't just one in the room.
Yeah.
That would be for ADR. Yeah, you're right. Automated, digital replacement or dialogue replacement. But in cartoons, we do it as an ensemble.
Yeah.
Each one of us with a separate mic. And, sure, for video games or promos, and of course, with COVID, we all had to work independent of one another in our own self-created studios, so we would hear each other in our headphones. Occasionally, we would work with Zoom, so we might see one another, but not always and not usually.
Yeah. And do you prefer working with the group, or as an actor, do you prefer the solitude of being in your own booth? Because I assume you being a comedian, the improv, you probably love all that stuff, right?
I love people. I love this. You and I get to play. I get to see you, and we get to make the magic, and then things get to happen, like the lights go out in the middle of the interview, and fortunately my tech support Sam comes along in, and I'm answering your question while being in the moment, and that's improvisation, and that's the magic of this, Now, there's not a lot of people who can do that, but I recommend for people who want to get into the business to not only take acting classes, because acting is acting is acting, whether it's voice, stage, TV, film, it's all acting. And I think improv is great because as kids, we played and we came up with ideas like that to do this and that, but we lose that as we go up through the school chain because we lose recess and it's replaced with study hall. Yep. And it's replaced with other courses, and then it's replaced with all kinds of things, and we lose that ability to play. But it's still inside. And that's what we have to use to express ourselves. And everybody, to me, can play and can be an artist.
Yeah. And again, it's like you said, you love people, and it's being able to connect with the other people.
Yes.
And have that feel. I want to get to a couple of these questions here because we've got a bunch. So I'm just going to scroll up and we'll get to a couple of these. So we got Dessinee in you. I love you in Disney 100 and Digimon 25th work 3000.
Oh, Digimon, yes, sure, absolutely. Marcus Damon.
Here's a question: do you have a favorite Teenage Robot episode?
No, because I can't remember any of them. I enjoyed when I was Sheldon Lee. That was very fun. It was also fun when he created the metallic superhero, Silver Shell, because I was him as well. And I was Don Prima, the condescending, cocky boyfriend of Jenny and wannabe Bruiser to Sheldon. Hi, Sheldon. What are you doing tonight? Not going out with Jenny because you don't have a car.
Oh, Sheldon. Someone wrote, oh, Sheldon, it's so good to see a familiar face.
Yes. Oh, thank you so much. Oh, you're very nice. And he was influenced by one of my biggest influences, the comic genius Jerry Lewis.
Oh, a legend, another legend.
Another legend, yes.
Some legends. And I think that's the one thing. So, and of course, everybody has their favorite episodes, but I think with voice actors, and certainly video games and for doing regular Western animation, if you will, video games, the anime stuff.
Sure.
As a voice actor, you're working on several projects. You're not, like if you had a sitcom, that's like your focus. You're on a sitcom.
Correct.
So you might be working on like 15 different projects in a year.
Yeah.
So, and again, the way animation works and video games work is it takes time. So you may not necessarily see those end results for 2 or 3 years.
That's exactly right. And because we're working off of copy, we have to make that copy come alive in the moment. We don't get the scripts in advance.
Yeah.
So we don't necessarily remember the story because we're in the story in the moment, moving along. And as you said, they take it and they go on to produce it. It comes months or years later when we've gone on and done all kinds of other projects. And then when a fan has watched something we've done, whether it be an animated series, anime, video games, you name it, and they're as into it as I was into Gene Wilder's Willy Wonka or in Young Frankenstein or the Beatles or Jerry Lewis, they know what I've done far better than because I don't really watch my own work.
Yeah. And you got so much of it. That's the thing. I was at a show and somebody, I overheard somebody saying to somebody, oh, I love this one movie you did. And it was an animated flick. And they make several of these animated movies and series. And the actor was kind of like, oh, okay. I didn't even know he worked with this one guy because you don't.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Jesse McCartney, who plays Roxas to my Axel, they're best friends. And we have worked separately together for years now as best of friends. And when you look at those scenes, it seems like we're in the same room together. In fact, I've watched cutscenes of us together as Axel and Roxas, whether it be the Clock Tower or elsewhere. And there was one time I watched it where my disbelief was suspended and suddenly I was caught up in the storyline between these two characters. It was no longer me. It was not Jesse. It was Axel and Roxas. And by the time it was done and it ended, I went, oh my God. I was just there with them and it was so real. I believed it. And that speaks volumes to not only the copy content, the actors, but the directors, the producers, the editors, everyone together as an ensemble. But the magic, the spirit, the essence was there for us to believe.
Yeah. And I mean, and that's when it's most effective, when it pulls you, even as an actor, yourself is pulling you into that world. And
that's kind of surreal. Yeah.
that is the art behind it. Let's see what we got here. Okay, so here we go. Developing characters, right? And Sergi wants to know this, right? So, what was it like voicing Timon? What was that process? Because Lion King was huge, right? So they said, let's do a TV, because at that point, but I guess they still do that now. So, and obviously, you said Nathan. I think Nathan did like 10 of them, right? And they might have done a handful of them, but then you did the majority of them.
Yeah, he did a handful of them, and then I finished up the series. I think I did about 36. And what happened at the time is he went on to do the Birdcage film with Robin Williams and Gene Hackman and Hank Azaria.
Okay.
So they needed to replace Timon. So there were about 100 of us actors who auditioned. They whittled it down to 25 to 8 to 3 to 2 to me. And so I came in and I had to step into those big shoes. And the director was a guy named Jamie Thomason at Disney. And he had a particular method in which he directed me to get what he wanted from me. And there were about 3 separate producers who were writing and creating these episodes. and they were mixing them together with Nathan. So you had Nathan, you had me, all coming out at the same time in these little episode shorts. And it was really cool. I mean, it was surreal. I also went on to replace him as the voice of Snowbell the cat in HBO's animated series Stuart Little.
Did you really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
So,
Let me ask you, for the Timon, so the opening, is that you singing or is that him singing?
No, that would be him.
That is, because I mean, listen, you were spot on. Like it's hard to pick out who's who on that one because you were good.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, and then after I was followed then by another actor named Kevin Chung. So
doing it.
Yeah, he did Timon after me in the following season when I went on to do something else.
Gotcha. Huh? Again, it's the magic of film and television. Let's see what we got here. So Grayson just wants to say, Quinton, me and my partner had the honor to talk to you before on your live. Just wanted to let you know that my partner's voice acting journey is going well. He has been taking acting and voice coaching. All right.
Oh, cool. Oh, right on, Grayson. Thank you. I like the Raiden little icon there.
Pull that back up again. There he is. There's Raiden.
I am lightning, the rain transformed. Grayson, now it's time for you to let her rip.
So going into video games and anime, so Western animation, that is definitely one style, I'm sure, of voice acting. What are some of the differences that you find as an actor doing the Western animation, doing the anime, and then video game is a whole other world, right?
Yeah, sure. In terms of the method behind the means of which we make it all come together. When it's anime, we are dubbing, and so someone has taken the Japanese text and translated it into English, and then they've tried to create an English or Westernized version that makes sense to not only the storyline but the listeners. And then I've got to dub or chase the picture, as it were.
Because you got to follow those beats because you guys are, while you're dubbing, you're watching the cartoon and you got to follow those beats of the mouth. But what's that like? That process?
Again, I say it's rhythmic, it's musical, it's timing, it's acting, it's everything together at once. You've got to nail the beats and you have to nail the emotions. And there's a character I've done named Iruka Sensei in the series Naruto, who many are fond of, and they've looked at him as a father figure for Naruto and for many people who've come up to me growing up, as well as Khan from Bleach. And 1,000-Year Blood War's out there now, and he's this wild little plushy lion who's a mod soul stuck in this lion's body. And it's surreal, man. I mean, and video games, usually they animate to us. Even if it's something like Kingdom Hearts that's coming from Japan, they will have a video camera on me while I'm recording the audio. I may be chasing picture, I may not be, but they're going to take my mouth and they're going to digitize it and my expression and merge it with what they already have from the original Japanese axle and make it all sync perfectly. That's because of technology.
Well, I mean, and the thing I wanted to ask about video games too, and I guess, so you do this, better than I would. Like the yelling, the screaming, the grunting, the running, the walking. I mean, because obviously video games are hours upon hours of content, more so than a TV show or a movie. Those sessions, how is that like? Like, so you're walking through the woods, right? And how do you differentiate walking up a hill, walking through water, and just walking on a trail? Because they want that in the video game to make it more authentic for the player at home, right?
Yeah, depending on, well, the directors usually have a pretty good idea of how they want that done, and they usually save the grunts till the end, and usually in original Western animation. But sometimes when we do Kingdom Hearts, we have to do that as well. Or the walking, it might be, if I'm going up a hill, it might be, so it's, very subtle. It's like painting, it's shading, it's drawing, it's colors, but orally. So you're seeing it and you're doing it, you're being it. And you have a director on the other side of the glass who also is trying to get the performance out of you they want. And so they're envisioning it as well. So it's a team effort.
Yeah. And again, we keep going back to this one thing about art. And it really is because there are so many hands in the cookie jar when it comes to any of these projects, whether it be cartoons or video games, just because, a lot of work goes into it, like more than a traditional show. Got another question here for you. What do you think? What do you think about it, Spidey working together with? And I know the character's name from Wicked.
What is it?
What the heck's the girl's name?
Elphaba?
I don't even know. Elphaba.
Is it Elphaba or Elphaba?
I think Elphaba. Elphaba. What do you think?
What do I think? I think it would be a wild duo. I mean, who knows? It could be cool. I don't know. I mean, if I'm your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, I'm happy to show up anywhere and do the best job I can to entertain you and to make sure that good triumphs over evil.
There you go. And then we have here voicing Leah and Marcus. Who do you think would win and why?
What, in a duel, in a fight, in a match? That's a tough one. I don't know. I can't say. I would like to say to the person who asked that question, who do you think?
There you go. Write that in there, folks. And we'll just do this one last question here too. If you could be, here's like a good improv thing. If you could be a Jungle Cruise skipper, what's your best joke? And I hear skipper, I hear Alan Hale, but that's all.
Me too.
Go again, little buddy.
Yeah, if I could be a skipper for a jungle boat, I mean, who knows? I might be making more of a pirate, And I'm the captain, that maybe I'd make him kind of a British kind of thing. And what do you want from me? Come on. I mean, my best joke, I don't know I can't even imagine a skipper making a joke. If the boat goes down, we all go down. And it makes me think of Captain Quint from Jaws.
There you go.
Catch him for 5, kill him for 10.
Yeah. And I know what I'm loving. I'm loving the fact that you're pulling from this repertoire. And and again, going back to the voice acting thing, is that you really need to study people.
You need to study them, boys, so you know who Robert is and you know who Jaws is. You got it there? I think you do. You got questions for me? I got questions for you. All right, let's do it there, Skipper. Who's in charge? You, me, or the shark? One of us is going to go down. One of us is going to come back. We won't know until the shark attacks. See.
That's great. That is great. Good stuff.
Thank you.
Good stuff. I mean, but and again, the art, the magic of this, and like you said, you've done Robot Chicken, you've done all these other great things, and
sure.
and that's where knowing these actors, knowing these people, really come into play. And then, like you said, like we were joking with the Christophers, mixing and matching those characters.
Yeah, that's called a mashup. And going back to Robot Chicken, you mentioned, I had the opportunity of playing Elmer Fudd, rapping like Eminem in a parody of 8 Mile. That Dr. Dre appeared in, and Chris Lloyd in the same episode. So suddenly I'm doing, whoa, I'm taking you to school. Call me the professor. You're sexually confused because you're a cross-dresser. No, that was, written by Seth Green and Matt Steinrich. And it was hilarious. And Seth, being a rapper himself, got in the booth with me to make sure that I gave it just the right amount of groove. As I'm doing Elmer Fudd rapping against Bugs Bunny with DJ Daffy Duck. Hey, it's crazy. It was nuts. The whole thing was wild.
So much fun. Just so much fun. And you know, as you were doing Quint from Jaws, and because by reference, I was like, what would Alan Hale be like if he was a skipper in Jaws? That would right. That would him and Gilligan on that boat. That's something to think about.
I'll catch him for fun. I don't even do an Alan Hale. Don't.
Well, that's
little buddy. I catch him for 5. I'll kill him for 10. But I'm gonna let Gilligan take care of it then.
So this weekend you're going to be up in Saratoga, New York.
Yes.
So you're going to be meeting and greeting, and I know some people here they've said they've seen you at some other conventions. What is the joy? What are some of your best things when you meet fans? Because I know everybody comes to you, and I mean we've gone through a bunch of your work tonight. What brings you the most joy when you're out there doing a convention?
Well, just hearing the stories that fans have, memories that they have that they share with me, and how that these characters from every genre have affected them. And sometimes they have favorite moments that I don't know. I love to know how they've inspired them. And my goal always is to inspire, educate, and entertain. Mm-hmm. And oftentimes that's what I'll do on a panel if I'm doing it alone. If I'm doing it with others, like Tony Daniels is going to be there this weekend, and we get on famously and we improvise together, and we may end up doing some music. Who knows? Maybe we'll go do karaoke one night. I don't know. Anything's possible. But just authentic, be your authentic self. Ask me whatever you want to ask me. Say hello, drop by, and stop by, because people will say to me, well, when are you coming next? It's like, no, I'm coming now. Like,
yeah,
this is it. I may never be there again. So we have now. We have this moment. We have today. Just like you and I, Mike. So this is a gift.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Seize the moment.
Yes, carpe diem. Seize the day.
You know.
Oh, yes, Robin Williams, of course. Yes.
We've been doing him at school a lot lately. We had this great artist. He came and did this painting. So everybody's been doing Robin.
Oh, that's great.
That's great. So you said you educate too. So I guess you're sharing your knowledge for there's a lot of people that do want to get into voice acting.
Absolutely.
So I guess what would probably be maybe like the top, and I know there's a lot into it. What would you say maybe like the top things people should know who want to get into voice acting?
It's all about acting. Mm-hmm. You have to want to do it. You have to enjoy acting, enjoy the process. Take voice acting courses as well. Mm-hmm. And I would encourage you to improvise, take some improvisation classes.
Yeah.
Because once you get behind the mic, people tend to think it's a disembodied voice, which it is. But as you've seen me do, it's physical. Mm-hmm. It's not just a voice. I mean, there are some actors who can do just a voice, but if you're not into the movement, if you don't have the freedom to take direction, which is key, you're going to get all kinds of different directors. And what I've learned is I want to be of maximum service to you, in this case, to you and your questions, your audience. If I'm working on a project, then to the writer, the director, the producer, the end result. But again, being in the moment, being the best actor I can be, the best listener I can be. And if I don't understand something, have the courage and the vulnerability and the humility to ask, what did you mean by that? Because that was something as a kid I wouldn't necessarily do. I'd be afraid I'd look stupid. And I'm sure you've found this with students in your school body, student body. There are people who are afraid to ask for what they need or to show that they don't know something for fear of looking dumb.
Yeah.
But the truth of the matter is, if I can learn something from you, or if I have a question, you're only too happy to teach me and to help me. And that's the same with the director. So be teachable, be directable, be honest, be open, be vulnerable, but don't be a doormat.
and I think that's just good advice for any walk of life.
I agree.
100%. That's awesome. That's powerful stuff. And you just ask. You never know you never know what doors opens when you ask too. So
hey, I mean, if you don't open your mouth, you don't get fed, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. That's why I tell the kids all the time at school, I can't help you unless we know what's going on.
Right. And so you say, come up to me. I'm available. I'm here. Right.
Yeah. And I mean, and when you in the world of acting, that's really what the director's there for. What is it that you want? What can I do for you? I'm working for you.
Right. And they'll try to give me some kind of direction too. And what how they may have to figure out how to get to me to get
Yeah.
what they need. And every director works with a different actor, and everybody's got a different style, emotion, or methodology. Is that a word? Methodology?
Yeah, I think it is.
I think it is.
I think so too. And you know what I also like, again, you've been doing this, the physicality of it. And I mean, you go back and you watch some of the old videos online or the old interviews, the original, the OGs of the voice acting world. You look at Mel Blanc, you look at Dawes Butler. Like when Dawes did Yogi Bear, it was all coming because he was very much Yogi came from inside. That's right. So you really have to become that character,
Yeah, you gotta be it. You gotta live it.
Oh, Yogi. If I'm doing Yogi Bear, if I'm doing Boo Boo, I'm down here.
If you're doing Yogi Bear, you gotta be up here. Come on, grab that picnic basket.
Yeah, the joy of it.
That is the joy, and that's the fun. Have the fun, and then be willing to look silly, to be silly, just to play.
Perfect words. So outside of Saratoga, as we wrap up here, any place else people can look for you? We have here on the bottom Quinton Flynn 1 on Instagram. People can find you there. Where else can people find you or be on the lookout for?
Well, I do have a Facebook page, which is Quinton Flynn. I do have Twitter or X, which is Quinton Flynn. And the middle of May, we're doing a virtual signing. So if there's anybody out there who's not able to make the Saratoga Comic-Con because you don't live in New York State or anywhere near it, near Albany, you can go online, Streamily.com.
Great company.
Yeah, and I have my own page there with content that you can purchase, and I will sign it live for you. I think it's around, I'm not sure what the dates are, somewhere between May 12th and the 19th. It's going to be advertised. In fact, it's already being advertised. I just can't remember the date at this moment. Someone out there right now is yelling it.
Let me see if but I mean, obviously that is on your Instagram page. I'm just seeing if I can pull that up here for everybody who wants to check it out. Streamily, Quinton Flynn. Let's see. But yeah, no, and that's, here we go. Let's see. When are you live? So we'll give you a little plug for that.
That'd be great.
Yeah, and that is another great service.
May 16th. That's my guess.
And I've done stuff. I've gotten stuff from them before, and they are a great company because May 16th. You're right, 5:00 p.m.
There you go. Pacific. Is that 5 o'clock Pacific or Eastern? I'm gonna guess it might be Pacific there, Captain.
Probably. Doesn't say. Interesting.
Okay. Everybody will find out.
Eastern time. EDT.
Okay, ET.
Eastern time, 5 o'clock.
I'm home.
So yeah, ET, do it. Join us. Be there. Get what you want. We've got lots of new stuff. It's going to be really cool.
And you'll have all this cool stuff up at Saratoga. So if you're at Saratoga tonight,
please, if you're anywhere near Saratoga, you've got to join us. I want to meet you. We all want to meet you.
It's going to be a fantastic time. Fantastic time.
And you'll be there, right?
I will be there. I will most definitely be there.
And so, folks, Mike and I are going to get to meet face to face.
That's
beyond this. In real life, in real time, in person.
Absolutely.
So join us. Meet us.
I cannot wait. And like you said, maybe we find Tony and we'll go out there and find karaoke. There's a lot of great restaurants and after night places and stuff. So we can maybe find a karaoke place.
I hope so. I think that'd be fun, man.
So cool. So Quinton, this was great tonight. It was great meeting you here like this. And of course, it's gonna be great hanging out with you this upcoming weekend. And again, like we said, guys watching, come to Saratoga. If you're in the New York area, come on down. Or if you're near Albany, New York, come north, south, east, west, whichever way it is. Pretty central there. But come and meet Quinton. Come and meet all the other great guests there. Guaranteed you will have a great time there. But again, Quinton, thank you so much. Go to the Streamly, go to the Instagram, and get some autographs and interact with Quinton. So thanks so much.
Fun. Yeah.
So again, Quinton, thank you so much. If you would just hang out backstage for a minute, and
I will. Thank you.
all right, good night, everybody, and thank you so much.
Cheers.